So this will be my review of the new Fantastic Four movie, Fantastic Four First Steps. Forgive the background, you work with what you got. Sometimes you gotta sit on the floor in the bathroom. What are you gonna do? Man, I'm gonna jump right into it. Okay, so non-spoilers. First, as y'all know, I do non-spoilers and then spoiler review. Non-spoiler review, goodness gracious, my goodness. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I think you will too. For anybody else who has been fairly let down by much, not all, but much of what the MCU has had to give us, has had to provide for us over the last couple of years, you will not be let down. This is a breath of fresh air. Everything about this movie is well done. Everything about this movie shows that the people that made it actually cared, frankly. And that is something that feels like a lot lately just has not been the case across not just movies, but movies and TV and things like that. And this movie just shows so much evidence of people having their hands on it. People who clearly, to whatever degree, care about the characters and want to craft a good story with these characters. So, yeah, my non-spoiler review, I would say go watch this movie. Go watch this movie and then come back and watch my spoiler review. Highly recommended. Man, it just seems like lately I've been watching a lot of movies that I really enjoy, especially comic book movies. First Superman and now this. Boy, we are eating good. But I would say I'm gonna say 9 out of 10. Highly recommend Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, jumping into spoilers. Oh boy, I love this movie. Even though I just saw Superman, and Superman was a very good superhero movie. I don't remember the last time I was this excited post a movie. Superman got me very excited during the movie where I was like, yes, I'm watching a comic book movie. I'm watching a comic book on the big screen. Fantastic Four was just that to an even higher level. This movie is just so good from start to finish. I cannot think of a single thing that actually needs to be changed that I would change. Do you want to know my one big gripe with the movie? You know what? I got two. I got two gripes with the movie. Okay, second thing first. The final post-credit scene, the one that comes at the very end, it's a little bit anticlimactic, but also it's awesome because all throughout the movie, little clips and you hear little bits about the Fantastic Four cartoon that is in universe, and you essentially see the intro to the Fantastic Four cartoon. That's the final post-credit scene, is you see the intro to that show. Dude, it's so 50s, 60s. It's so of that. It feels like that. It feels so raw and real and natural. Everything about this movie feels that way. I'm going to walk through hitting some of the highlights of the story. I don't want to go too deep into it because I'll be sitting here all day long just gushing over how incredible it is. So we get an origin story very quickly, and it's done as a flashback because you're watching this TV news program, which is 4 years with the Fantastic Four right there. The boom, Mr. Fantastic pose. And it's the classic thing. They go up into space, cosmic rays, boom, they come down. Everything's different. But unlike, man, other Fantastic Four movies, again, we're 4 years in. So this is a lived-in universe. So they've been fighting villains. So they've been fighting Mole Man. So they've been fighting Red Ghost. So they've been fighting, as you see from the cartoon, if we're going to say that the cartoon mimics things that actually happens, they've been fighting Dragon Man. They've been fighting all kinds of villains. This is a universe that is not just, whoa, we're the first superheroes. No, like other stuff has been going on. So we see a little bit of their origin. And then you quickly cut to Sue taking a pregnancy test. Boom, I'm pregnant. Okay? They go to have dinner with Thing, with Ben, and with Johnny Storm, with the Human Torch. Ben pretty much immediately gets it because of the way that they react to some things. And then, boom, we cut right to they're getting ready for the baby. They're making the entire place where they live safe. And in the meantime, they're getting some messages from deep outer space. And Johnny and Reed talk about that a little bit. It seems like they've gotten, I believe that ends up being over 20, and that later comes back up. But yeah, they're just getting ready for the baby. Reed does this very cool thing which just adds to the lived-in part of this universe. At one point, right before we get our first appearance of the Herald of Silver Surfer, right before that, we see that there's a bunch of cops going by outside, zooming all around, which a bunch of people have flying vehicles because this is the universe, because Reed Richards is the mastermind that he is. He is this high-level intellectual who has deeply affected the universe. In this universe, we have Reed tech, as opposed to, the MCU Stark tech, and it's, goodness gracious, I love it. Anyway, so Reed has been tracking all of these criminal enterprises, and we see at one point they walk out on the balcony and we see the cops going all over the city, and he's over there is the puppeteer, over there is Diablo, over there is somebody else. Everything is so fruitful. A little backtracking, because it ends up playing later on in the story, Mole Man is like an actual character in this movie, and Mole Man is the leader of the Under Earth, essentially, and Sue has worked as a diplomat, even though they fought him, to make good relations with them, because they found the Future Foundation, which is like this universe's UN, because the Fantastic Four is deeply connected to it. So rather than the UN, we have the Future Foundation. And Reed is basically trying to put a safeguard. It feels a little bit reminiscent of Tony's ambitions with Ultron, right? To just put a shell around the world. But Reed essentially wants to safeguard the city. He wants to safeguard the planet for the baby that's about to come about. And then right then, just like it shows in the trailers, fire in the sky, here's the Silver Surfer. I herald your end, I herald Galactus. And she does the whole speech. And it's a little bit better than the trailers because there's a little bit more empathy. The Silver Surfer isn't completely cold. And that's the classic Silver Surfer, which, by the way, let me just say this right off the bat. Again, like I said before, not a single issue with this movie. I was one of the people that was a little weary. Man, why didn't they just go with Norrin Rad? You know what? Egg on my face, they nailed it. They nailed it with Shalabal, I believe is her name. Nailed it. Killed it. Actress killed it. The character that they made perfectly fitted the role that they wanted her to fit. But yeah, she says, I'm heralding Galactus. I herald your end. I herald his beginning. I herald all of that. But also, in the meantime, stick close to the ones you love, because inevitably your world will be eaten. Johnny flies after her. He follows her out into space. She speaks a little something to him, and then he falls back down. She speaks in her original language that he does not yet know. Their immediate next move, we're going to go confront Galactus. They get all suited up. They go out there. They have this amazing thing, this technology of how they're able to travel through wormholes. They go because they track the energy of the Silver Surfer, and Reed quickly realizes, oh, her energy tracks to all these places where planets were previously, and they no longer are. So very quickly we establish, like, this is a legitimate threat. There's no mystery of, oh, is he really a world eater? No, he's eaten like 6 that we can track just recently. So they use that to follow her energy to Galactus, and they pop out of the wormhole to this planet that moments later they witness Galactus eating. He eats it with his like ship, his like world eater ship that he uses, and then it feeds him, it supplies him. They go down. They're quickly intercepted by Galactus's ship. Silver Surfer meets them. She tells them, you should not have come here. She takes them to Galactus because she says, Galactus will see you. While they're on their way there, Johnny tries to talk to her. He's like, you said something to me back there. She tells him what that means. He later, just to jump ahead a little bit, he uses that to decipher the language from all those previous recordings and to piece together Shalabal's backstory, which is essentially the Norrin Rad backstory, which is that Galactus came to her planet. She offered herself up essentially as a sacrifice to become his herald to save her planet. But anyway, back to what's currently happening. Then she takes them to Galactus. They speak to Galactus. He tells them, just like it was, I think, unnecessarily revealed / spoiled in the trailers, but I will save Earth. Like, I will spare Earth. Just give me your son. Because your son is an incredibly, infinitely powerful cosmic being. And they're just like, what? Because Sue hasn't even given birth yet. By all ways of them knowing, Franklin, the baby inside Sue, is totally normal. And then all of a sudden, Galactus does something with his mind, because Galactus himself is this god for all intents and purposes, and he causes Sue to go into labor. They try to fight him a little bit to escape. They are able to escape finally. They trap Silver Surfer in a black hole, which they say it'll take her a month to get out of. Then they get away, and as they're traveling through space, Sue gives birth. It's all, again, I don't want to get too much into the nitty-gritty, because I do, man, obviously, if you've already seen it, you've already seen it, and if you haven't seen it, what are you doing? But it's so good, you have to see it. I could spoil the whole dang thing, and it would still be worthwhile. And I am going to spoil the whole dang thing. So anyway, she gives birth. They get back on Earth. Everybody, that's another thing about this universe. They are beloved heroes. They are beloved heroes across the world, and especially in New York City. So they get back. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, they're back. Yay. Hey, because they've had this history of, This bad guy shows up, they beat him. Boom, bang, pow, they beat him. They get back, they have the baby. They're like, oh my gosh, so can you tell us how you beat Galactus? And they're like, we didn't beat him. And Johnny tries to cover it, and he's like, not yet. Not yet, we haven't beat him. And Reed basically, he's very open and honest with the crowd. He's like, he wanted our son. And he said that he would spare the earth, and we decided that we're not going to do that. We will not be giving up our son. And that's the beginning of people, completely understandably, I think. I completely agree with Reed. I wouldn't give up my son either, no matter how many people you put in front of me. But completely understandably, for the other side's view, they're like, what? And then that's whenever you start getting some people going against them. Flash forward a little bit. They're trying to decide what to do with Galactus because they don't know what they could do. They don't know anything about him. Whenever they go to meet Galactus, they have Herbie, which Herbie's awesome, by the way, Herbie the robot. Reed sends Herbie out to go collect some samples to try to learn anything. And basically all the samples tell him is that it would take like at least 10 years to actually analyze all this stuff and learn anything about Galactus. They get back, they decide, okay, what we're going to do, because earlier on in the movie, Reed has begun to develop basically teleportation technology. What we're going to do, we're going to teleport the Earth. We're going to teleport the Earth. So they have to set up all these little stations all over the world to basically create like this giant net, you could say, of whatever energy to teleport the Earth, okay? To teleport the Earth, and it looks like it's going to work. Like I thought that it would fail long before it ever even got all interconnected and everything. They're doing all of that. Meanwhile, different things are happening personally. Ben has this like slight romance subplot with just this woman who's in the city and knows about him. And he goes to this synagogue, school, or wherever where she's at, and that's where she works. And they have this wonderful, nice little slight romance plot. Anyway, so they're setting up all the things across the world. It's the day that they're about to, put it in action and teleport the world. They're waiting for all the places across the world to, be like, hey, we're ready, let's link up. And then all of a sudden, ding, 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 what was green starts to go red. And what you see is the Silver Surfer came and is literally just flying through all of the things that they took all this manpower and took all this effort to build across the world. And she is just flying through them, destroying them, boom, 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 completely ruining their plan of teleporting the world. And there's one left. There's one left in New York City, and luckily Johnny stops her because all those messages, like I said, he uses those to distract her and bring up her past because he now knows vaguely. I like that too. He wasn't getting into the nitty-gritty. He was like, I was vaguely able to understand your language, so I was vaguely able to understand your backstory of, hey, you were the scientist, you gave up your life so that you could become the Herald of Galactus and spare your planet, and I'm just trying to save my planet. So in doing that, he causes her to have an emotional reaction and she flies off so she doesn't destroy the one last kind of teleporter thing that's in New York. And also she doesn't try to get Franklin. So Johnny, big hero, saves the day in that way. The thing that they decide to do instead is we're not going to teleport the Earth. We will force Galactus out of his giant world eater ship to come down, and we will teleport him. The battle that ensues is them having to decide, okay, we're going to have to use Franklin as bait. Everybody kind of hates it, but they realize eventually this is the only thing to do. Otherwise, the Earth will be destroyed. Some of the issues that the public has with them is resolved in a very beautiful scene where they're up in the Baxter building and people are outside like starting to protest and riot in a manner of speaking and just talking about, oh, it's all selfish. And Sue takes Franklin in her arms and goes downstairs and basically tells them, look, you are our family. You, the city of New York, you are our family. And in the same way that we would not sacrifice any of you for all of us, we will not be doing that with our son. And Sue says this really beautiful thing of, I will not sacrifice my son for the world, but I also won't sacrifice the world for my son. So we are going to fight for you. We are going to figure out a way to defeat Galactus. Their plan is we're going to teleport him. Thank God Sue has developed a more amicable relationship with Mole Man because they realize, okay, we're going to get Galactus into the city. He's going to destroy a lot of stuff and kill a lot of people. Oh, there's somebody we know who is in charge of the Under-Earth. So they do a citywide evacuation. They get all the people to go into the under earth so that they are then safe. Galactus comes down. Like I said, they use Franklin as bait. They try to trick him to just walk into the area of the teleporter, which is like this triangle. Try to trick him to walk into it. He quickly realizes, oh, Franklin's not here like I thought he was. Franklin's in the Baxter building. They go after him. A big battle ensues. I genuinely thought at one point that this movie was about to get very dark, okay? And at one point, Galactus literally has Mr. Fantastic and he is just pulling him. And they focus on it for a minute. And I was like, are they going to, from far away, this might seem ridiculous, but I was like, are they from far away just gonna show him just snap apart? And I was like, oh my goodness. And luckily they don't, because right at that moment, Johnny flies in with the thing. And this is whenever we get our one time of him legitimately saying, it's clobbering time. It's clobbering time. And Johnny drops thing, distracts him for long enough to let go of Reed and drop him on the ground. And Reed is all messed up. This is whenever we get a glimpse of the real power and ability of Sue Storm. Because in that moment, Galactus, after he just like bats away Thing and Human Torch, throws Mr. Fantastic to the side. He goes up to the Baxter building. They try to lock it down. He just rips it open, takes Franklin, and Sue just unleashes with her invisible woman powers, her force fields, and her ability to just like manipulate and move things. And she is literally pushing Galactus to the teleporter site. And Johnny goes, turns it on, and they only have 30 seconds where this thing is open, but at the same time, it doesn't close for that whole 30 seconds. So she finally pushes Galactus to the teleporter. The thing is opening, the teleporter light orb, whatever it is. They push him into it. They get Franklin out of his hand. Mr. Fantastic is able to go up and get Franklin out of his hand. They push him into it. Oh man, everybody's really exhausted. It was a giant force from Sue. Whenever she does a last final push to get Galactus into it, to get him into the orb, it knocks her back and she is just on the ground. And it's boom. All right. We still have about 10 seconds left. Galactus comes back out through the orb, and you're like, oh my gosh, what are they going to do? Johnny says, tell Franklin that his uncle loves him, and he is going to fly directly into Galactus until Silver Surfer comes, knocks Johnny out of the way, and she flies into Galactus, and her and Galactus go into the orb, go into the teleporter, and they're gone. They are gone. They did it. They actually defeated, man, as minimally as they were able to do, they defeated Galactus. They got him off the planet because Reed said earlier, we're just going to zap him to the other side of the universe, to the other side of the galaxy without his ship, so he will just be adrift in space. The giant amount of force that Sue used to do that final push, and they made it very obvious, and it was a wonderful way that they did it. They showed that she was clearly pushing herself. Something that I like that they did not do is in the previous Fantastic Four movies, or a lot of the time in like movies whenever people have to use their brain a lot, they get the nosebleed. There was no nosebleed. What you saw instead was like the blood vessels in her face almost bursting, and her eyes, it looked like the blood vessels were almost bursting. She was clearly just showing so much effort, but because of that effort, Sue dies. Sue dies. She's laying dead in the street. And remember, and this is what's very important, Franklin, unbeknownst to them, because Galactus said earlier on, Franklin is actually hiding his powers from you in whatever way he's able to. Franklin is crying and whining, and everybody is crying and weeping over the death of Sue, and Reed puts Franklin on Sue's chest just for like that last moment to be with his mom, and everything goes very quiet. And Franklin is just like touching his mom's chest. Again, Franklin, who's a baby, is just touching his mom's chest. And then all of a sudden they show the glove. And of course the glove just, and then Sue and she comes alive, and she has like these like galactic blue eyes. And obviously what happened was Franklin used the power cosmic to bring his mother back to life. And it is a happy ending. And it is so earned, and everything is so wonderful and beautiful. This is such a good movie. Please go see this movie. If you already saw it, see it again. But it's a happy end. They defeat Galactus. They win. And that pretty much is the end of the movie. Everything starts to just get wrapped up. The people come out from the under earth, and then boom, credits. And we have mid-credit, post-credit scene. Mid-credit is, oh man, oh goodness gracious. The mid-credit scene, 4 years later, Sue is reading to Franklin on the couch, and she's like, what book do you want to read? And he says, whatever. And she walks off to go get it. And while she's out of the room, there's like this weird sound and weird kind of vibes now coming from the living room. She comes out. Franklin is touching the face of a man in a green hood who has a silver mask in his hand. We get Doctor Doom for just a fraction of a second. The mask looks amazing. The hood looks as good as like a hood could look, but the mask, the little bit of the mask that we get to see looks amazing. And I already told y'all earlier one of my biggest gripes with the movie, which I realize now I didn't say the other one. The other one would be, I would like if the Thing's voice was a little bit rougher, but really who cares? Like, if it was a little bit more like this, that's it. Who cares, dude? This movie was incredible. This movie was amazing. This movie was a 9 out of 10. Again, if you haven't seen it, go see it, even though I just spoiled the whole dang thing. There's plenty of little character moments and stuff that I wasn't able to spoil. Incredible acting, incredible just, man, everything feels so lived in. Everything felt like people cared. Everything felt like all of this was just so fleshed out, and it felt so much better than so much of what we've gotten lately. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. One of the things that I really loved about the movie is there's this through line of a message of life is valuable. And life, no matter if it's in the belly of a mother or if it's an entire planet, all of it is valuable, and it is worthy of our sacrifice, and it is worthy of our love and our care. And at the end of the day, I think that is a thoroughly Christian message, and I think that is a thoroughly beautiful, good message that we see in this movie. A life that is in the belly of a mother is just as worthwhile and worth saving and caring and dying for as the lives of adults walking around. And that was something I thoroughly loved. That was something that thoroughly moved me and touched me and brought me to tears multiple times in this movie. And man, I loved it. But hey, maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't like the movie. Maybe you didn't like my review. Maybe you don't like anything about me. Maybe you've never liked anything I've ever done. At the end of the day, God loves you. And I love you. God bless, my friend. Hey, you're still here. Hey, what movie would you like to see me review next? Movie or TV show? Let me know in the comments. God bless, my friend. Consider supporting me today by going to thelordsgiant.com and making a donation or picking up some merch, or by finding me on Patreon.